Some people believe that your time, energy, and inner peace should be spent according to their wishes, as if you're an empty vessel meant to absorb their emotions. They treat your personal boundaries as mere suggestions and completely disregard their importance. But the bitter truth is that many people keep the harm they've received buried deep inside, only realizing the true weight of it much later. In this video, I want to share with you 5 toxic behaviors that you should never ignore in your life. Because if you continue to tolerate them, you'll be the one who suffers. If you're finally ready to stop enduring disrespect and want to protect your inner peace, keep watching. You need to start setting emotional boundaries now. Let's begin with the first one, constant criticism. This is one of the most psychologically damaging habits, and it doesn't appear suddenly. It's not explosive. It seeps in slowly, quietly, until it takes root within you. Constant criticism doesn't just cause discomfort. It's a psychological battle. Regardless of who it's coming from, it should never be met with silence. Many people confuse criticism with helpful feedback. But there's a vast difference between constructive criticism and repetitive, destructive criticism. Constructive criticism is clear, respectful, and focused on growth. But constant criticism becomes a tool to control and manipulate. It targets not what you do, but who you are. For those who have endured this kind of behavior for years under the label of love or family tradition, this toxic pattern can dangerously start to feel normal. Just because someone constantly treats you this way doesn't mean they have the right to. Psychologists explain that constant criticism triggers the brain's defense mechanisms. Studies show that repeated negative behavior in close relationships, even without outright rejection, makes us feel perpetually on edge, preparing for rejection at any moment. You begin to doubt your ideas before even voicing them. You feel anxious before sharing something creative or vulnerable. Your inner confidence starts to fade. In families, this often takes the form of comparisons. Why aren't you like so-and-so? Or why can they do it but you can't? These aren't random comments, they are emotional strategies, whether intentional or not, designed to belittle you and make you feel worthless. And the more you allow it, the more damaging it becomes. According to Stoic philosophy, such relentless criticism is contrary to the values of a virtuous life. While Stoics emphasize discipline and endurance, they never preach silence in the face of humiliation or abuse. Epictetus once said, "We cannot control what others do, but we have full control over what we accept and how we respond." Drawing clear and calm boundaries is not a confrontation, it's an act of self-respect. Every relationship in your life is different, and sometimes it's enough to just change how you communicate. Create distance or quietly but firmly say no. But sometimes you have to go further. Set firm boundaries to protect your sacred space, reduce contact, or even end long-standing relationships. But the most dangerous thing, and something many people do for years, is ignoring the harm. Bottling it up and pretending everything is fine. That deep-rooted feeling of "I'm not enough," instilled since childhood, is not a truth, it's a belief, a taught belief. And just as it was taught, it can be unlearned. No one has the right to convince you that your worth depends on external conditions. If someone constantly criticizes you while pretending to care, and slowly makes you forget your value, that's not care. That's control. That's manipulation. And the moment you recognize these patterns, fall silent and start to hear your inner voice again, and that's when healing begins. I once knew a student. He was in university and at his family's request began staying with some close relatives. At first it seemed like a good decision. "Don't worry, you're like family in our home," they said. But over time things changed. The homeowners constantly asked when she came and went. They were interested in everything she posted on social media, commenting on her friends and her clothing. At first, the student tried to see these things as signs of concern, but later she realized she didn't feel comfortable in the house. Every time she returned home, she felt a sense of unease. as if every move she made was being watched. One day, she gathered her courage and said, "I'm grateful to be living here, but I don't want to explain every single action I take. It makes me uncomfortable." They replied, "We're just worried about you. You're being too sensitive." A few days later, because she came home a bit late from class, they handed her a list titled, "How to Behave in This House." At that moment, the student thought to herself, "Why do I have to seem like a bad person? Just for asking for respect?" This is what a violation of boundaries looks like. It doesn't always come in the form of shouting or rudeness. Sometimes it shows up in small, everyday intrusions. Under the excuse of "I'm just worried about you," they force a person to constantly justify themselves. But that's not care, that's control. That's disrespect. Living with dignity means clearly defining what you will and will not tolerate. Someone who constantly belittles you isn't bringing wisdom into your life. They are damaging your spirit. So what should you do when you encounter such behavior in your life? First, acknowledge your own feelings. The inner tension you feel around that person is not weakness. It's your internal alarm system trying to protect you. The tightness in your shoulders, the exhaustion you feel after interacting with them, the hesitation to answer their call. These are not small annoyances. They are warning signs of repeated emotional harm. This is a form of power play, and it leaves deep marks not just through the behavior, but through the message behind it. In such situations, it feels as though your comfort, your needs, and your existence as an independent person don't matter. But boundaries are not meant to push people away. They are signals for yourself and for others that show where the line is. These boundaries protect us. They exist to safeguard our time, our energy, and our personal space. Some people cross boundaries because no one ever taught them what boundaries are. They grew up in families where love had to be earned by always being right. For them, closeness means control, not respect. Believing they love you, they begin to see everything about you as theirs. Your time, your thoughts, even your personal space. But there is an even more dangerous group, the manipulators. They cross boundaries knowingly. They don't do it openly. They test you with small but intentional actions. They push a little, pressure a bit, and wait for your reaction. And when you finally say something, they label you as overly sensitive, cold, or selfish. They exploit your sense of empathy for their own benefit. They make you feel like having your own rules is something to be ashamed of. The most dangerous boundary violations are the ones that happen gradually. For example, a co-worker who constantly jokes about your personal life, a parent who embarrasses you in public, a friend who borrows money but never pays it back, a partner who secretly reads your messages. Each of these behaviors may seem small on its own, but over time, they make you feel like your boundaries are not worth respecting. You hesitate to defend your own rights. According to Stoic philosophy, boundaries are a fundamental way of owning your life. Epictetus once said, "No one has power over your inner world unless you give them permission." But it's not just our inner world that needs protection. Our time, energy, and personal space in daily life must also be safeguarded. If you continuously allow others to interfere in your life, you not only lose your strength, but also slowly give away what's most valuable to you. This isn't something to solve with aggression when it requires clarity. When someone crosses your boundary, speak calmly and firmly. Without getting emotional or trying to justify yourself, speak simply and directly. Explain what happened, how it affects you, and what needs to change. Make it clear. You don't need to apologize or feel guilty for defending yourself. This is not a punishment. It's a sign that you value yourself. But here's something important. If your boundaries have no consequences, they are seen as mere suggestions. If someone continues their behavior even after your clear communication, then the time for talk is over. Now it's time to act. That may mean spending less time with that person, avoiding certain conversations, or in some cases cutting ties completely. If these violations persist and you remain silent, you send a message that your boundaries mean nothing. But someone who truly loves and values you will respect your limits. At first, these changes might seem strange to them, but they will ask questions, they will try to adapt, because real love doesn't seek control, it offers respect. If someone calls your boundaries meaningless, that's a reflection of how little they respect the value you place on yourself. Ask yourself this: how many times have you stayed silent, even when something bothered you? How many times have you swallowed your truth just to keep the peace? Maybe in the past that protected you, but now that approach is hurting you. Your boundaries should never be up for debate. They should be clear, firm, and non-negotiable. Topic 3: manipulation. Did you know that people who endure long-term psychological manipulation eventually lose the ability to distinguish between intuition and anxiety? They learn not to trust their own feelings. This kind of harm is invisible, but it leaves a very confusing mark. It doesn't yell, but it silences your inner voice. It happens quietly and gradually. It doesn't break you all at once, it weakens you over time. That's why this behavior on manipulation is the third dangerous situation everyone should be aware of. Other types of abuse are obvious. Manipulation is silent. These people don't force their way into your life. They slowly seep in. They behave in ways that make you doubt yourself and your thoughts. Eventually, you lose trust in your own judgment. These individuals often present themselves as helpful, understanding, even kind. And that's what makes them dangerous. Their harmful intent is not visible. They don't hurt you openly, but they cloud your thinking. Just as criticism damages self-esteem, manipulation weakens mental clarity. You're no longer sure of what you're feeling. Sometimes you're not even sure if you're allowed to feel it. It starts very small. A simple sentence, a slight doubt, a word here, a denial there. You're too sensitive. I never said that. You're misunderstanding everything. These words are not random. They're carefully chosen. They don't just express a different opinion, they pull you away from your own reality. Over time, for the sake of peace, you begin to silence your questions and thoughts. And gradually, you learn not to trust your memory, your decisions, or your feelings. This is no longer a simple difference of opinion. It's a deep disruption that shakes your psychological center. Ask yourself one question. How do you feel around them? After your conversations, do you feel like something inside you has been cut off? Like you've lost a part of yourself? Do you constantly ask yourself, was I wrong? These feelings are not accidental. They are your subconscious trying to recover after emotional destabilization. So what did the Stoics say here? At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the pursuit of truth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, perception is not reality. Wisdom is being able to see things not as others show them to you, but as they truly are. So how do you protect yourself from manipulation? Step 1, stop trying to win the argument. Because the manipulative person does not seek truth or agreement. Their goal is control. The more you explain, the more they twist your words. Instead, shift to observation. Write things down. Record the conversations. Note the inconsistencies between what they say and what they do. Document your emotions and shifting thoughts. This isn't for confronting them. It's for reconnecting with your own reality. Then test your perception. Talk to someone who's outside of the fog, someone who doesn't need to distort your emotions, someone who will simply listen. What they say will act like a clean mirror, and when they validate your experiences, which they inevitably will, you'll realize just how far you've been pulled from your reality. That is the moment you wake up. The fog clears, silence no longer scares you, it liberates you. And most importantly, you're no longer threatening, you're setting boundaries. If this behavior continues, I will not be there. This isn't an ultimatum, it's an inner decision. And this time there's no need to argue, because you're not seeking to fight, you're seeking freedom. Some lies come polished and pretty, disguised as protection. Others appear reasonable, supposedly born from difficult circumstances. But whatever the intent, the result is always the same. Your emotional foundation begins to crack. You start questioning who you can trust, and for how long. And that doubt isn't just directed at others, it turns inward. The voice inside you whispers, "Am I being deceived again?" And the most destructive lies aren't the loud, harsh ones. The most damaging are the soft deceits, white lies, half-truths, forgotten promises, details buried in silence. These lies drip slowly, and over time they erode your inner foundation. This is the real cost of living with someone who doesn't tell the truth. The disturbance of your inner peace, the collapse of your emotional stability. The Stoics never compromised on truth. For them, honesty was not just a virtue, it was a discipline. A dishonest person cannot grow. A relationship without trust is not intimacy, it's just performance. Seneca said, "The first lesson of friendship is truth. Without truth, there is no real connection, only the illusion of one." Fifth behavior, disrespect disguised as jokes. It often starts with a laugh, a simple comment, a little jab in front of others that makes your cheeks burn. Maybe you smile, maybe you laugh along to keep the peace, but somewhere deep inside a discomfort starts to form. You feel exposed, unseen, misunderstood, mocked, humiliated. And finally, when you speak up, they raise their hands and say, "Relax, I was just joking." This is the fifth behavior that should never go unchallenged. Disrespect, disguised as humor or honesty, especially when it comes from the people closest to us. It can be one of the most socially accepted and common forms of emotional abuse. Yes, for the Stoics, telling the truth was essential, but never at the expense of kindness or wisdom. Masking cruelty as honesty is not courage. It is cowardice dressed in clever words. So how should you respond? First, stop laughing at things that hurt you. Don't try to justify what wounds you. When someone crosses a line and hides behind a joke, name it. Say, "That felt disrespectful to me." Say it clearly, not with anger, not with emotion, just with honesty. Don't argue. Let the discomfort remain where it belongs, with the person who caused it. And if the behavior continues, don't raise your voice, raise your boundaries. Walk away, withdraw emotionally, and if necessary, remove that person from your life entirely. Because repeated disrespect, especially the kind hidden behind phrases like, "I didn't mean it that way," isn't any less real just because it's dressed up as a joke. The people who are truly worth your time are the ones who don't just care about the meaning of their words, they care about how those words make you feel. And if that person is someone close, a family member, a friend, a partner, remember, closeness doesn't give anyone the right to humiliate you. You owe no access to someone who weaponizes their own insecurity against you. You have the right to say, "That's not funny." You have the right to say, "That's not love." You have the right to say nothing at all, and walk away from those who confuse cruelty with care. Because dignity is not a negotiation, neither is your emotional safety. These 5 behaviors: constant criticism, disrespecting your boundaries, making you doubt your reality, lying repeatedly, and mocking you under the guise of just joking. These aren't bad habits, they are red flags. They are serious warning signs. And now that you can name them, ask yourself one question. What will I do from here? Because enduring these behaviors doesn't make you strong, it slowly erodes you. Every time someone crosses the line and you say nothing, you teach them and yourself that your comfort doesn't matter. But you don't deserve that, so stop. Ask yourself, is this relationship nourishing me or is it draining me? If a relationship is taking more than it gives, that isn't love. That's emotional dependence. That's harm, not healing. Start small. Learn to say no. Don't call it a joke if it's not funny. Be clear about what you want and what you will not tolerate. These are the first steps towards self-respect. And remember, staying silent is not adapting. It is abandoning yourself. If what I've shared today resonated with you, like the video, share your thoughts and subscribe. Because what you hear today might be exactly what someone else needs to survive tomorrow.